Welcome back TBF fans. As always, we're going to go straight into it. Today we'll be looking into Dark Omen. Now you guys are well aware Dark Omen is one of those, well, basically has become a standard tournament for most clans of today. Because Dark Omen provides you two major artifacts that are extremely handy for your captains, and then basically it is a tournament that is good for growth for your clan overall. However, today I feel it's best that we have a close-up into what Dark Omen is all about, how to approach it, how you should actually fight against these monsters, and what you should be paying attention to, especially if you're new, medium, or even larger player into this particular tournament. So let's go and look at it a bit more deeper, and we'll also be looking at the main site too, because they've got some pretty interesting things there too. Okay, let's have a quick look. Previously, they made some older videos, of course, for Dark Omen, right? Before we kick off, I actually wanted to have a quick recheck of what these two tournaments are again. We basically look at their two shots they have here first before we deep dive and talk a bit more about Dark Omen, because this episode will be a complete deep dive of what we'll be looking at, going up against not only basically it is a teaser, but at the same time going up against the Arcanomancer and the tournaments that go around it, how it really formulates around this tournament in particular. So let's enjoy, guys, as we look at it from now. So anyway, guys, I'll leave you to it. Enjoy the first one.
This fall, your faith will be tested. Do you trust in fate, even if the cards foretell your doom? Brace yourself. The Dark Omens are coming for you.
That's pretty nifty, guys, as always. And then, of course, we got the next one. That was actually when it first came out. And then, of course, the second one.
The day the first living creature with a soul first made a choice, that choice shaped it. It has no name. It lives beyond our world. Some call it the Arcanomancer. Its nature is the result of the endless moral choices of mortals. It never invades. The world summons it whenever the fragile balance of existence is disturbed. Every unresolved war between clans gives this mysterious being more power. It is neither god nor mortal. It does not travel alone. Shadows walk with it, echoes of a realm no map can name, fragments of the will of those who betrayed themselves. Rumors are afoot that an entire castle saw the Arcanomancer walking through their courtyard, and by sunrise, everyone inside had died of sickness. No doors were broken, no sounds were heard. Now it walks among the kingdoms and deals its cards. Death, famine, insanity, fear, plague, pyre, greed. These aren't the Arcanomancer's weapons. They belong to us.
And that was awesome, guys. Anyway, I thought that was important to first look at those two because it kind of sums up what you're kind of expecting from the start of what with the whole Dark Omen event installed for you. But you guys are more aware that when going into Dark Omen, there's a lot more to it. So let me go through that to guide you through the ways to approach it. Now, before we even start, remember, in any major tournament such like this one goes for about 2 days. When it first initially came out, it was actually going for the entire week. This is when it first initially came out. Changes came through, they made intervention time slots, they made a lot of different things leading up to it now. And in fact, they actually had some bugs that happened yesterday during this event, which caused some issues, which I'll talk about today as well. But by the time you watch this video, hopefully that issue will not ever come back up again. But glitches are glitches, it happens. It's a very normal thing to do. So before we start, every major tournament, always pay attention to the packages that are available. Now, if you happen to see no limited packages, now they usually tend to cost you about $7.80 or $8 overall AUD. Now you can convert that to Australian. Those limited packages come out every day for particular events. So if you happen to see it, they're the ones you can always pay for because that's equivalent to a cup of coffee. I don't mind parting with that type of money to part from a cup of coffee because it means overall you're spending very little and gaining 7 days of those mercs and 7 days of those benefits. So it's very handy for you, okay? But you don't want to do things like buying their full package deal like this, for example, which will cost you about $77 AUD. Again, convert it to your own currency. Well, even though it may be cool having that level amount of mercs, you get pretty much kingdom portals, gold, clan chests, tar, beat ups, and some nifty equipment and gear so you can build your weaponry and so forth. But I'm letting you know, guys, this is unnecessary. Don't be fooled of these type of nifty rewards because it's trying to draw you in when it's unnecessary. You do not need things like this, okay? You're being played as a fool if you end up getting it. And even if you have the money, like I said before, guys, you don't need to spend money where you don't need to because it can be earned elsewhere, and we all know that. So save your money. You can spend your money in other things, right, guys? So let's look into the event. Now, before you can even start, you need to understand a few things. So first of all, you got Dark Omen, of course, Spoil of Dread, and Restoration of Balance, okay? So Spoil of Dread is pretty simple. Every single time you happen to knock out those creature summons that you gain from the Dark Omen event, you summon these creatures to other opponents. So they can do the same thing to you. Now, if you manage to defeat those monsters, the Spoil of Dread increases, and therefore your personal goals start increasing here. You better get these clan chests, you better get all these rewards, but you do need a fair bit in order to achieve it. Restoration of Balance, though, in the other hand, is a little bit different. Essentially, it will add up all your points and put you into divisions. And when you do, though, like old things that have divisions, it puts you into rank of the top 100 for that tournament, right? And when you're in there, guys, it then allows you to be able to gain a certain position of the top 100 positions, gaining things like the Blade of Judgment if you happen to be at first place, which is plus 25% to Captain's Leadership active for 30 days after being acquired. Or you may get the Herald of Dawn, which is plus 10% to Captain's Leadership active for 30 days after being acquired, and you find that most of the rewards are going to be exactly the same all the way down, and even the bottom, I think it's roughly the same too. Yeah, you also gain plus 10% to Captain's Leadership active 30 days after being acquired, because it is not always that easy to get in the top 100. I know that, but sometimes if you build it up correct, and again, if you guys are interested, you can always go back into my channel, guys, and you find a bunch of videos here that'll give you guidance. But one particular one that you guys want to watch in this instance, it would have to be the Constant Tiles Common Mistakes. This episode here on my channel really gives guidance of how, technically speaking, playing at your hero up a optimum level with your captains at a high level to be able to gain constant rewards and trophies. So it's very handy to go into. You can take a look at it if you haven't watched it before. That's very, very handy moving forward for you guys. Now, going back to the channel though, guys, this isn't ranking, but the most important thing, what you're dealing with though here, is going up to the Necromancer, or summoning creatures of dead-like creatures to your opponent's groups. Now, with the Dark Omen event, guys, you have certain categories that you go into. Now, you have to remember, guys, you're going up against 4 clans, including yourself. Of course, if you turn first place, there's much to be gained here, and that's also awesome. But if you don't, that's okay. But hopefully that's what your clan is targeting at, to always gain first place, because that is its own achievement. You'll be able to earn points, and then you better use these cards that you can see here, like the Monster Lifeline for Dark Omen creatures. That will allow you to cast things like Plague, Prior, Greed. You better summon Phantom, Insanity, and Death. And these are the creatures that you can summon once you get enough points to be able to throw these beasts down to prevent your opposing team from able to catch up to you. Because what happens is that when you cast it, it then lands onto the enemy territory's map. Then every single time they slay it, their troops get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. But that's the whole idea. By weakening them, it doesn't really do too much of a great deal because you still end up slaying them anyway. But that's meant to slow you down, but it really doesn't do much. Now, a really good plan to take note, guys, is that you have to remember that your summons in themselves have their own level and tier. So a really good strategy to play out if you happen to be a small baby player, you want to send those who are 2/6 and under to go against things like the minor epics, such as Plague, Prior, and Greed, because they're very, very weak. They're very, very, very weak. But when Famine comes out, and Insanity comes out, and also Death comes out, they're the big boys, guys. So you either march in together, or you send in your tier 8 and tier 9 players to deal with Prior, Greed, and Death, because they can slay it a lot faster and more efficiently, meaning that your other troops in a lower rank or lower grade won't have to fork out too much golden resources to recover. And yes, it's all about teamwork, team effort, and team you, basically. But if you don't fulfill those basic requirements for yourself, even though they need help, because in the end of the day, it plays on the psyche You're not playing just for yourself. You're playing for your teammates. You're playing as a clan. You're playing as a whole unit. And in saying that, that's exactly what you should be doing. The one for all will not achieve all the goals in this game. It's the one that's able to work with others and work as your community and as a clan that takes the distance and brings it to another level. That's the whole idea. And it's funny how those principles, even played out even today, actually applies to real life as well. And some of the main reasons why I love this game, how much relation it actually has outside the game as well as inside, and how strong this community is. That kind of pushes along total battle. Okay, so moving along now, guys, you can actually see here you got the Acromancy and Dark Omen. When you're actually in the time slots, guys, and here's, remember, own essence contribution interval times. Basically what this means here, guys, for those who are new, this is definitely for those who are new, if you read it, the next one starts in 6 hours and 51 minutes. So after when it starts in 6 hours and 51 minutes, it means that they can't stop you right away. You're able to attack normally, you're able to kill them off normally, you're able to do all that. And when their timer kicks back in again, well, they're kind of frozen until that time to return, because that's what's happening. They're being put in under ice basically, so they can't do any damage or hurt each other. But always keep an eye, guys. If you see the time slot, I recommend you have a watch or put a timer down below, so when the alarm goes on one of certain interview featured parts, you're then able to submit your captains right areas to compete. Because what happened in especially the early days of season, and even season is no different right now, even today after when it finishes, a lot of the stories that are shared are all pretty much all the same. He stole this, she stole that. I wasn't fast enough, and just all my resources on the ground, they pretty much emptied me dry. This is stories. These are real stories dealing with people in the season kingdoms. Can you imagine how chaotic it would be if these chests were around on a more regular basis in our general kingdoms? I have said to other colleagues before that in doing so, you're doing yourself a disfavor, because what you want to do, and ultimately in the end, is about to take them down easily without this stress, because you're already losing points against the spoils of dread. You want to be able to hit hard for the Acromancer that gains you heaps of points. Now, looking at points now, guys, and you got the mission here, you gain these Dark Omen scrolls, which is extremely handy to be able to gain those rewards. And the reward system works like a gold pass, medium pass, pretty much the cream supreme, the one that costs like an arm and a leg to purchase, which is unnecessary. And once you do clear all the pages, what tends to happen is that you reach the end and you'll be able to gain all these nifty rewards that are provided within in-game. So you'll be able to get the best of the best. Now, here's a rule of thumb, guys, when you do play Dark Omen. Now, most people are well aware when you do play Dark Omen, especially if you're coming in second or third, for as example, I actually would hope, and they didn't do this, but there should have been the options where you can kind of force feed, let me explain what I mean by force feed, but pretty essentially force feed particular captains or heroes that you have on yourself to summon back to them for a certain fee. Right? So you could do that. It's a bit dodgy, but you can do that. Or you make an agreement where basically you're not going to summon anything and you're just going to play it out. And I've seen clans do that too. Very similar to Olympus, when it's basically the Lava Fountain tournament. You guys know what I'm talking about. But for those who just entered this, you see Dark Omen being played out the same way. So they end up saving tons of points and tons of gold. Now, your ranking here, guys, will then determine pretty much where you sit again. You have to remember, guys, that you want to get into rank, and by the idea, you're only going up against 4 other clans. By coming in first place, the rewards are plentiful and very useful. So those in the higher tier level, you're gaining about 3.36k clan chests, which is about 3,360 chests once you unlock it when turning first place. Now, based on the clan or how small, how big, or how large your group is, it doesn't make a difference. That will determine the divisions by earning these clan rewards at the end game of this tournament, because it's gonna play a vital role to pretty much forging your way forward. Now, here's a nifty trick that you guys don't know about that's quite handy. I've said this in my previous episodes, but I'll say it again. Now, my clan won't do it because we're pretty much well organized as it is, and we kind of defend ourselves, so we don't really need assistant help. But what you can do to achieve complete ownage is basically doing so, you want to make sure that you are completely armed, prepared to go up against this tournament without any threats in between. Now, one really cool thing you have to remember, guys, that usually when Dark Omen event happens, you find there are several other events that are going on. You have to make sure that you prioritize yourself properly, and be wary that for us though, make sure you go in here with the appropriate levels, because you want to gain all the chests and everything you better gather for them, because Dark Omen is a useful event overall for you TBF fans out there and Total Battle fanatics. I forgot to add this, but it's also quite vital as well. Now, you guys know that ultimately for Dark Omen event, the idea is to better summon those cards that you receive, especially the higher tier level ones if you're able to, against your opponent. Now, this should be actually played more strategically. When you are going up against the 4 clans that you are playing against, the idea is to make sure that you are targeting the one who sits on top, a one above all. You don't want to target those who are below because that's wasting your summons. No. Use this effectively. Wait for the comments that are sent by your supervisors and your leader alike, because then you can do this together, very much weakening your opponent to giving you a higher chance to activate your chalice and therefore putting more points for your clan, and then therefore allowing you to turn first. So that's a really strategic way of approaching it, and you must approach it in that means. And by doing so too, guys, when you go back to your clan, another way you can approach things too, but this doesn't work for this clan, but I've seen it happen. You want to keep all your clans very close knit, and also bring your main capital, your towers, whatever you want, so close knit that it doesn't build a additional field around your territory or around your base even more so, because that's going to wind you down. And if you do that, it's going to put you in a lot of trouble. Reason why? Because if you're able to call what I call the box up strategy, what happens is that every single hero or captain alike will then squeeze in every single tile, so it's impossible for them to be able to cast a summon on you, because what are better ways to approach this and for them not to summon anything to you in the first place? That's completely achievable if you follow through that format, and it is sneaky, but it does work out very well. Besides that, you can remain your castle as it is, grow it as it is, and play as it is, but there are tricks about how to do this safely without the cost of spending any money at all. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you're trying to achieve? Or are you exploring a whale's mouth the whole time in the Pacific Ocean, blah, blah, blah? You don't know. Things like that. But remember, guys, it's quite important, and I kind of want to make that voice start very quickly. What I have done as well is in my journals, you can see here, I actually went after the Arrow Necromancer about 6 times. So he can actually parole down 6 times to come out and do some pretty much badass damage there, But that's the idea. You got to be wary about it. And when you manage to attack him, you better put in stack, and once your stack rule kicks in, you're then actually performing at a good level, because you're hitting hard, you're hitting quick, you're hitting fast. And at this time, I didn't actually have Dustin with me because he was still in prison. He's getting bailed out now, so thank you guys for that. I really do much appreciate it. But overall, this him playing as a whole, one set as a whole, and he's caused brutal amount of damage to both sides. Anyway, guys, I just want to keep it short and simple. I wanted to show you that so you can have a good idea. When I did go up against it though, I done something a bit different to show my contribution to the Great Arachnomancer. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that. I'll leave you to it over here. To show homage to this particular event, I'm going to be doing the Arachnomancer. Hopefully it'll turn out pretty good, who knows, or just going to shape it out as I kind of feel like. We'll just kind of play over it and see how it goes with that. To be honest, I've been taking my time going back into it because I actually been missing this particular item. Honestly, it's just a sharpener, and I know it's a simple item, but I just didn't have time to pick it up. But now, I've got this little beauty. This will definitely help us out today. We'll be also using some basic NF BIC coloring pencils, following with BIC intensity felt tip pens, coloring felt tip pens, followed by maybe using also the Faber-Castell textures. So these are pretty kind of the tools we'll be using today. Trust me, this is not the greatest items. In fact, there's actually better items to use. But, as always, you can never go wrong with the nifty pencil, because that kind of builds up everything all together. Anyway, let's get this video started. We'll see how this turns out. Hopefully the image will turn out pretty good, giving us homage for this particular event and for this particular epic monster, the Arachnomancer. So, yeah, enjoy.